Welcome to the AI for Technical Writers podcast. This is episode 97. I'm Fred.
And I'm Daphne. It's great to be here.
So today we're focusing on Adobe Firefly. It's Adobe's big push into generative AI, specifically for creating visual content.
That's right. And our discussion today, it's based on a recent article by our producer, senior technical writer Curt Robbins. It's called Tool Review, Adobe Firefly, and it came out September 27th, 2025.
Yeah, and for you listening, technical writers, documentation specialists, IT pros, our goal isn't just, another software review.
It's really about understanding how Firefly works, what are its strengths, what are its maybe surprising limitations, and crucially, how you can actually use it to speed up creating professional visuals, especially where compliance is, well, a big deal.
Exactly. This is where AI stops being just interesting tech and becomes a real tool for businesses. We're
Right.
talking efficiency, sure, but maybe even more importantly, handling legal risk.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it. How does Adobe actually position Firefly to fit into, the workflows you might already have?
Well, Firefly isn't just one thing. It's described as a family of generative AI models. And the idea is really to enhance creative workflows, not completely replace them. Integration is the key concept.
Integration, okay.
Yeah, Adobe didn't really build a brand new standalone app. They baked Firefly's features right into the Creative Cloud tools people often use, Photoshop, Illustrator, Adobe Express.
Right, and that tight integration, that sounds like it could be a really big deal. If your team, your company, is already deep in the Adobe world, and let's face it, a lot of documentation teams then the friction just kind of disappears, right?
Exactly.
Technical writers can use these generative tools right inside the software they already know. No need to jump out to some website, import things, export things back.
That context switching, it really adds up. Eliminating that is a huge efficiency gain.
Yeah, definitely.
But maybe the most critical part, especially for, say, the IT folks who approve software purchases, is the data sourcing. This is where Firefly really stands apart from, well, almost all the other major image generators. And it speaks directly to that enterprise compliance need.
Okay, so why is the training data such a game changer here? What did Adobe do differently?
Well, the key thing is that Firefly was trained mainly on 3 specific types of content. First, Adobe stock images. Second, openly licensed content. And third, public domain stuff where the copyright has definitely expired.
Okay.
And if you think about the bigger picture, this was clearly a conscious choice. They wanted to sidestep the legal mess that other models are facing because they were trained on, well, basically everything scraped from the web.
Right. That makes sense. It provides a kind of legal shield, doesn't it? Because documentation, it often ends up outside the company in manuals, on support websites, maybe even marketing stuff.
Yeah.
So if a tech writer uses Firefly to create a visual, how sure can the company be that they won't get sued over that image later?
Well, Adobe is essentially offering a commercial safety guarantee because of that curated training data. By sticking to these legally vetted sources, the outputs are considered, quote, safe for commercial use. For any large organization where legal and ethical compliance isn't just nice to have, but absolutely essential, this makes Firefly really attractive, especially when you compare it to rivals that might offer, wilder creative results, but come with zero guarantee about copyright.
That's a really compelling point for businesses. Okay, so what can you actually do with it? What features are available right now that technical writers could use?
There are a few main ones currently. Text-to-image generation, obviously. Then there's generative fill, which is primarily in Photoshop, also text effects, and generative recoloring, mainly in Illustrator.
Okay, generative fill in Photoshop. I can see that being useful. What's a typical documentation scenario where that helps?
Oh, absolutely. Think about updating screenshots or complex diagrams. That's a constant challenge, right? You often need to remove sensitive information, maybe proprietary text or logos, or perhaps a screenshot just doesn't quite fit the layout template.
Yeah, that usually means hours of fiddly work
Yes.
with cropping tools or the clone stamp.
Yeah,
It can take forever.
exactly. But with generative fill, you could potentially select that sensitive text on a screenshot and just have it removed and filled in seamlessly.
Wow, okay.
Or if you need a diagram to be a bit wider to fit the page, you could use it to extend the background naturally without having to manually paint or clone pixels. It really speeds up that kind of iterative design and cleanup work. It lets the writer focus more on the actual content, not the pixel pushing.
Yeah, I can see that. Quickly mocking up ideas, adapting existing images for maybe different product versions. That's where you'd see the return on investment pretty quickly.
It really is. It's kind of like the practical utility vehicle of generative AI, built for speed and practical fixes.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. Let's take a brief break for a special message from our producer, Curt Robbins.
Hi, this is Curt Robbins. First, thanks for listening. I truly appreciate your support. I want to let you know that I'm currently accepting new clients. My rates are affordable, and I have more than 25 years of experience working for enterprise companies like Microsoft, Northrop Grumman, Oracle, PNC Bank, FedEx, USAA, and Wells Fargo, among many others. If you want to improve your IT documentation and communications, hire me. I deliver fast, know how to use AI to improve efficiency and accuracy, and love going the extra mile to satisfy my clients. Thank you for subscribing and listening. Back to you, Daphne and Fred.
Welcome back to the AI for Technical Writers podcast. So before the break, we talked about Firefly's big advantages, that tight integration and the focus on commercial safety. But now we need to look at the other side. What are the limitations? Where does the source article suggest we should be cautious?
Right. Well, that commercial safety aspect, while it's a major pro, it also contributes to one of the main limitations mentioned, its creative range. The review pointed out that compared to some other AI tools, maybe like Midjourney, which are often not focused on commercial safety, Firefly's output can seem a bit less imaginative, less stylized.
So back to your analogy, Firefly is the reliable company car, maybe, and Midjourney is the flashy concept car that might not even be street legal.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good way to put it. Firefly seems geared towards producing predictable, professional-looking visuals, things that look clean and useful in a manual or presentation. It's not really designed for, pushing artistic boundaries or generating something totally unexpected and fantastical like some other tools can. It's built for business utility, not necessarily for high art.
Okay. And this leads to something interesting you mentioned earlier, the ecosystem dependency. The integration is a strength, but it's also a potential weakness, right?
Exactly. It's kind of a double-edged sword. If you're already heavily invested in Adobe Creative Cloud, the integration is fantastic. But if your organization or team isn't already using Adobe products extensively, it makes Firefly a much harder sell.
Yeah, becomes about the total cost, doesn't it?
It does. How does an IT department justify paying for a full Creative Cloud subscription if the main draw for, say, the documentation team is just the Firefly features? Its real power comes when you use it with Photoshop or Illustrator. So that means a potentially significant upfront cost if you're not already paying for those licenses.
That's definitely a hurdle many teams will need to consider. Okay, let's talk about a specific challenge that's absolutely critical for technical communication: text accuracy. This raises an important question.
Well,
How well does it handle text in images?
Yes. This is a big one. The source review is clear on this. Like pretty much all current generative AI models, Firefly still really struggles to generate accurate text within the images it creates. So for documentation, where labels need to be precise, think about a technical diagram, like a circuit board schematic or maybe a flowchart with specific process names.
Yeah, absolutely
This
critical.
is a major sticking point. You just can't rely on it for that level of precision yet.
Okay, so if I'm a technical writer, I could use Firefly to maybe generate the basic visual, say, a diagram of server racks in a data center.
Right.
But I couldn't trust it to correctly label server rack 3B or fiber optic port 5 on that image.
Precisely. You'd still need to add those critical labels manually, probably in a proper editor, maybe using tools that integrate with your structured authoring system like DIT or something.
Right.
Firefly can accelerate creating the visual context, the composition. It can save hours compared to illustrating from scratch. But the crucial, precise information, the text that makes an image truly technical, that still needs human oversight and input. You need that guarantee of accuracy to avoid potentially costly errors down the line.
That makes sense. It speeds up part of the process, but not the whole thing, especially for complex technical visuals. So, considering all this, the pros and the cons, who is Firefly really the right fit for, the review did mention comparing it against competitors like Ideogram for text or Midjourney for creativity is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with large enterprise companies. For them, Firefly seems like a really strong contender. They likely already have extensive Creative Cloud licenses in place. They value that commercial safety aspect very highly, maybe more than cutting-edge creativity. And they need tools for rapidly creating visuals for internal comms, maybe marketing, technical documentation prototypes. For this group, Firefly offers a legally safer route to scale up visual content creation.
Makes sense. What about smaller businesses, or maybe teams with tighter budgets?
Well, if a smaller business needs a steady stream of visual content, say, for blog posts, product updates, quick user guides, and maybe they're already using something like Adobe Express or Photoshop Elements, Firefly could be quite useful. It offers a pretty straightforward way to create professional-looking materials without needing a dedicated graphic designer on staff. The ease of use is a factor there.
Okay. And then there's the individual consultant or the freelance technical writer.
Right. For freelancers who already subscribe to Creative Cloud, Firefly looks like a really nice value add. It could significantly streamline their work, letting them offer more visual services to clients, even if they aren't expert illustrators themselves. It could make them more competitive.
But there's a catch, right?
There's a big catch: the cost. If Firefly is the only reason a freelancer is considering Creative Cloud, that full subscription price is probably just too high. You really need to be using the other tools in the suite, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, etc., to make that overall cost worthwhile as an individual.
So it really comes down to whether you're already in the Adobe ecosystem or not. It feels like Adobe isn't really trying to win the prize for the most creative AI. They're aiming squarely at being the most practical and legally safest AI for businesses.
I think that's exactly right. The focus on ethical data sourcing and that deep integration. It's all about accelerating work within established professional environments and doing it with a lower risk profile. It's a tool designed to help documentation teams, IT departments, marketing teams minimize legal headaches while boosting their output of professional-looking visuals.
And that specific combination, the compliance plus the integration, that's actually pretty hard for competitors to match right now, especially in the enterprise space. So it sounds like if you're planning budgets and Adobe tools are already central to how you work, the question isn't really if you should look at Firefly, but maybe how quickly you can start leveraging it.
That seems to be the logical conclusion, yes. Evaluating how its efficiencies fit into your existing documentation and content creation processes.
Thank you for listening to the AI for Technical Writers podcast, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. We'll see you next week.